Thanks for staying with us. We still have Professor Adeoye with us. A question from you, ladies?
Yes, we have a question. So we wanted to find out, because, you know, you had taken, Mariah had taken in the papers this morning about the money that the government is about to share. That's FAC. And we wanted to know your take on the amount. You said this is going to be like the largest amount that they are going to be sharing in a very long time. What you think that money can be used for judiciously so that it affects even the common man?
Thank you very much for that good question. When I read about it that in the federation account 1.9 trillion naira will be shared, I said that's a very huge amount. That means the issue of oil theft that has reduced our revenue over the years is being addressed. That's one positive aspect of that particular information. Now, going back to your question, all that I've been saying right from onset should not be directed only to the federal government. Most of the time when issues like this come up, our focus is always on the federal government, forgetting that we are a federation. We have other tiers of government that share parts of revenue and that have responsibility to take care of the welfare of the people based on their campaign promises. With this type of revenue being shared across all tiers of government, I expect other units of government also to come up with their own programs. And that's why we have the National Economic Council, made up of all the 36 state governments and their commercial directors should come together and roll out policies. One way to cushion the effects of this fuel increase, especially on the people, is in the area of transportation. I could recollect some years back that each state government has their own transportation company, and they have buses. And they roll out those buses in order to reduce the cost or the price of transportation. These are areas where ordinary citizens can, benefit. And also to embark on provision of some social and basic amenities that common man can enjoy. I think that is very, very important because it's very huge amount that is going to this, tiers of government. Most of the people that will be affected at the end of the day, they are not at the federal level. They are state or local government level. So they need to affect the, the lives of the people with their policies.
All right. Where are Thank
you. Yeah. I was going to ask about the refineries because since 1999, no government has come in and said, oh, let me do these refineries. When I was growing up, there were refineries. There were 4 good refineries and fuel was affordable. In fact, I think at that time we even had the best fuel in the world. Now, we are still importing. The refineries are there that they can repair or build new ones. Everybody is waiting for Dangote. Dangote that is a businessman on his own. That when his refineries are eventually working, he will be exporting it and he will sell to us too.
How do you know that?
He's a businessman.
You see, people are speculating that they've all said...
Are they working? They have now said till March.
Okay.
Till March.
Anyway,
so
let's answer the question.
Is there any advice we can give government about building refineries, repairing refineries, or even using the illegal refineries that are in the Niger Delta? So that we don't have to pay...
Thank you for that question.
Sorry, so that we don't have to pay 570 for fuel again.
670.
Okay, it's a very good question. It's only in Nigeria that I see that a whole government, we rely on private sector provision. We've been depending on Dangote. But from the truth is part of the trust I was talking about, that government needs to build the trust. We've been deceived in the time past, thinking that when Dangote comes up on stream, where it will reduce all this hardship, it will produce and supply fuel. But let's tell ourselves the truth. Dangote is a private entity, although Nigeria has a state.
Yes.
But I believe if you look at our level of fuel consumption, Dangote cannot provide all those the quantity of fuel consumption we need in this country. So I believe, and besides, he has not even started producing. And from what I heard, I think a part of those marketers that have been licensed, I think Dangote company was part of those companies that even applied for license to import fuel. So I think, just like you have said, our refineries are no more working. A lot of corruptions have gone into that. Turnaround maintenance, almost all government. I think if government can invest in it, although people are saying that government has no business to be in business, and that it should be left to hand of private sector. But I think what government can do is that those ones that are not working, if they want to privatize it, they should privatize it and make it functional. So that if we have like 3, 4, just like you have said, if we can have like 3, 4, 5, refineries in the country, even if they are being operated by the private sector, the fuel price will not go up to this, because there won't be anything like landing cost, there won't be anything like transportation cost. So it will reduce. I think government should look in that direction to see how the existing refineries can be privatized and made to be functional. I heard about a story that when the late Yaradua came in, he tried to do that, but because of his death, when the new government came in, he tried to revoke all those licenses. I think government should look in that way. It's a good idea, because as long as we continue to import, and it is subjected to the vagaries of the forces of demand and supply, this will continue to happen, and we continue to lament on the high prices of fuel.
Thank you so much, Prof. You know, since we started this conversation about palliatives and, you know, what government is planning for us, and then we're also talking about the new National Assembly and the money that they are trying to, you know, to use to get new cars and refurbish their offices. Every time we are talked about, you know, palliatives, we've always heard also that Nigeria does not have money, or every time we talked about fuel subsidies, because we did not have enough money to do what's important. And now we have a new administration that's come in, a new National Assembly that is trying to also prepare itself for the new administration. As a layman, my question is, when we don't have money for what we feel is important, like health and education, where do we get money for refurbishment of offices and buying of new cars? And why is it important for them to have these things? In what way does it positively impact the economy, the education, the health of Nigerians?
Okay, thank you for that question. I think our problem in Nigeria is the problems are numerous. Just like what you have talked about now, one of those areas that the government should look into if they want to address the issue you have just raised has to do with our constitution. Don't forget that the National Assembly is a separate arm that is separate from the executive. So they have their own budget being approved directly from the budget. They have their own allocation. So at that time they decide on how to spend their money. And I don't think there's anybody that, audits them or go ahead. So there's a little in which the executive can do in that regard. But just like you have said, if they are true representatives of the people, I think at this point in time, when everyone is undergoing pain, they need to make some sacrifice. They are telling us to make sacrifice, but from their own hand, they are not making any sacrifice. So there's little that the executive can do in that regard. Our constitution is faulty, and the type of democracy we are running in Nigeria is the most expensive in the whole world.
It is.
And that's why our, political office holders are the highest paid, in the whole world. And I think we need to revisit some of these issues, and they are constitutional issues that can only be handled by those who are elected. And I doubt if this set of crop of politicians that are there will address such issues. Let me also raise this issue. How on earth will you hear that when people are undergoing this type of hardship, the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission are now recommending a 114% increase in their emolument, in their allowances. So these are some of the basic issues. So, and I think it is a constitutional issue. Although all blames goes to the executive, but it's not only the executive. The legislators are there to, to be part of the people. They are representative of the people. They need to go to their constituency and see how their people are suffering and see how they can make sacrifice in order to alleviate this,
thank you for taking, Prof.
Now, going about the 70 billion naira, yes?
I was going to say that what can the executive do to weigh in on this 70 billion naira you're about to talk about? Because, as you said, they're an independent arm of government and they also have their own policies and they are backed by constitution. But what can the executive do to weigh in? Because we saw the executive tell us that they are trying to review the 8,000 naira because Nigerians resisted it. Can they also help us tell the National Assembly to review this, their 40 billion naira for cars or 70 billion naira for their office renovation?
I doubt if the executive can do anything. Those who can do something are the citizens that elected them there. And that's why our constitution is 40. In a safe line, some of them should have been called over to give an account of their stewardship. I think it's the citizens that will not allow them to go ahead with that policy. Okay. The executive can do little about that. They should know, just like you have said, the legislature is a separate arm, and there's nothing the executive can do. But the citizens can do something by calling them to order, that they should not spend such a money in renovating or buying bulletproof, cars, when people are still struggling to make ends meet, to have a meal a day.
Right.
Prof, don't worry, we'll be shouting every day.
Very busy.
So what advice would you give to the people who do not see any form of change, who do not see light at the end of the tunnel anytime soon? What would you tell them?
Thank you very much for that question. I just want to advise everyone to be patient with this new government. The new government is battling with a lot of problems. And I think we should support the new government and be patient with the new government. But having said that, I will advise the government handlers, the advisors, not to push the government into a particular situation whereby most policies will be rolled out and it will affect the common man. I think some of these policies have to be filled. Nigeria, the situation we have now, we did not get there overnight. And for us to reverse, it will take some time. So we need to be patient. That's all that I will tell our people. We are all in it, but I know Nigeria is going to be great again. Nigeria is going to be good. Since we come back to normality.
Thank you very much, Prof. Let me let you go at this point. We've been speaking with Professor Tunde Adeoye. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this morning. It was a pleasure having you on the show. So back to the ladies. Any comments on social media that want to add or subtract to what's been said so far?
Mina TP says, hold your lawmakers accountable. Says the president didn't give them the money. I didn't get that.
But see, the president also needs them. So it's like, we have to work. So the president asked for the 500 billion naira approval. So if you don't approve my own, you also have to be very careful. They have to manage each other because the presidency doesn't have any, the executive doesn't have any money, doesn't have the purse. These guys have the purse. They're the ones going to give him the money. So he also has to be careful in how to handle. But we need to speak to the Senate president. There has to be some kind of review because if the president is reviewing this 8,000 naira, we hope the Senate president would listen to Nigerians and tell either Ramfak or whoever it is that is in charge of remuneration of their salaries, the one that wants to renovate the National Assembly, and the ones that wants to buy them cars. Somebody must have them have a meeting and let's have a conversation. There are hard times now in Nigeria. You can't be buying cars.
You can pause on this now.
You can pause them for later. Yeah. Any comments on social media before we wrap up because we are. It's fast spent.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are comments, but
some comments are not pleasant.
Oh, really?
No, it's not that they're not pleasant. It's they are fighting themselves. Andrew, it's you, and you supported the Dangote oil refinery and you shouted down those who wanted before public
So
oil
Dangote-
refineries working again.
Obviously, it's a
Nobody
topic
shouted.
because he has commissioned, they've commissioned, but they are yet
To
to
start.
produce
Start.
or refine the
start
crude that we
production,
expect. It's
whatever.
start operations. We're waiting. They told us end of June.
July.
Was it July or
of
June?
July.
July.
Was
End
June
of
ahead,
July.
though?
End of July or towards August is what I heard.
Antnam says free market is what's going on. Government can no longer dictate price. More competition is coming. Oil is
coming.
still cheap in Nigeria compared to other parts of the world.
So let's bring back
Maybe
Dangote.
sometimes we should look at our economy right now vis-a-vis what's happening around the world. I know that sometimes we feel like we are the
Only
ones
us,
suffering, but everyone is
Across the
suffering
world,
here
they're
across
also
the world.
increasing fuel prices because I heard that it's $80 now to the barrel compared to $70 to the barrel, I think, about a few weeks back. So things have changed. And globally, across the world, the crude is expensive and pump prices have increased. People, like someone was lamenting the other day that even housing in Canada is crazy, that everything is expensive. So it's not just Nigeria. But however, we need to begin to produce more. We need to export.
I don't like it when people talk about Nigeria and Canada and London and America in the same sentence.
Yes.
They are too. They are
Don't mind
different.
YK. She says it all the time.
Yeah, no.
I'll remind you when next you bring it up.
Let me tell you why. Talk about Canada. It's good there. It's expensive there. When we talk about Nigeria, you see, me and my own local government, your own local government. There, they have their own local government. If you are producing your own water and your own light, and then you are even starting to farm in your house because the tomato is getting too expensive, then you cannot compare.
I don't understand. They import fuel in their country too. They don't have fuel. I don't understand what you're saying.
We are oil producers.
We have the crude. We're not refining it too. They are also doing exactly.
Isn't that one of the arguments we have been arguing
No,
since?
same thing we're saying.
No. I said, no, you say it's expensive in Canada. It's expensive. No,
hear me
their
out.
own salary
Their
go
purchasing power
is
is
higher than our
There's no
own.
comparison.
Why,
I get you.
Is it the person that is earning 30,000 that wants to be buying fuel at 570?
Standard of living is better.
Yeah.
Their standard of living is better. When they put on the light, as long as they pay for their NEPA, the
light
light
is
will go.
showing.
If you like, pay for NEPA from morning to night. We haven't had light for 3 days. And we have to buy diesel. Do they have to buy diesel there? No.
They have generator.
No.
And fumes up and down.
So we even be buying generator? There should be nothing like generator here because we don't need it.
I have a response for you, but unfortunately, the show has ended. We'll take it up on Thursday. That's all we can take on today's show.
She's not here on
See you
Thursday.
tomorrow.
Send her a message.
Okay, tomorrow is Thursday, Abby?
Yes.
See you tomorrow. Bye for now.